Welcome in on a Friday, the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. Ready to kick this one off. Lots to talk about today. We got some big news that is happening that you may or may not be aware of. We'll tell you about it momentarily. It's always great to be here with you. A show presented by Rivals.com that gives you the opportunity to get in and discuss Michigan football, the latest and what's going on with the Maize and Blue. And you got a question, you got a comment, put it up in the comment section, and we'll get it up there in real time and discuss it, see if we can answer your question or if you're going to add something to this show. And the regulars here have added a bunch, which I appreciate. Today, we are going to talk about freshmen. And we'll look back to last year in Michigan in the impact that a few freshmen had. We have some recruiting tidbits to get to, but we will also look at the freshman impact. I'll speculate on who I think the 5 biggest impact freshmen will be. We'll see where you're at with what I have to say. I mean, it's hard to come up with the 5 that you think are going to be the most impactful because, as you will see with how it unfolded last year, a lot of it has to do with guys that are injured. And some guys just come out of nowhere. That happens. It makes it exciting. If we knew everything that was going on, what the heck, what would the intrigue be? But we'll start with the breaking news. Now, it's been talked about for the last 48 hours. The possibility of the Big Ten adding on to their conference, and they're doing it. And it was it last night or this morning that I saw Oregon say, no, we're not doing it. We're not going to the Big Ten. Well, a change of heart, as I see a number of outlets are reporting that the Big Ten is expected to officially approve Oregon and Washington. Should I start calling them Oregon, or should I stay with the Oregon that I have said so often? I thought that you go up to the great Northwest. It's a culture shock. It's a different, obviously it's a different part of the country, but it's like you're not even in the United States being up there. But there it is. That's Big Ten country now. Oregon and Washington. It's it's like LA, it's like it took a month or two. I don't know how comfortable I am with USC and UCLA coming into the Big Ten, but they're here. And now here comes Washington. And here comes Oregon. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And, maybe Florida State and Clemson will be next. The one thing about these latest additions, it's not like they're bringing in, certainly Washington provides the Seattle market, which, is substantial. But, if it was Cal or Stanford, fine institutions and everything, but we think about it from a football standpoint, it's like Cal. But, you get that Bay Area, and, it's part of it. Academics is part of it for sure. But what seems like the biggest component is the television footprint or the market. That's why Rutgers, nobody cares that Rutgers is in the Big Ten. But, you get that New York market, which is, pretty substantial. You already have Chicago. And now, L.A. and New York. And so you get that part. But, both USC and UCLA football-wise, but obviously, especially USC, that's pretty substantial. And then Washington and Oregon, these football-wise, they're pretty good, so they're pretty big names. And so from that standpoint, what are you going to do? Am I sitting here endorsing it? What am I going to? I like tradition. I wish it would have just stayed at 10. Well, what am I going to do? How far are you going to go back? Did you like the Penn State edition? I don't think anybody really liked Maryland and Rutgers, but it was like everybody had to be like, well, TV money. I don't care about TV money, but, you understood. Oh, yeah. So, it's really big deal money wise. Okay, yeah, that doesn't mean I have to like it. I understand it. Okay, money. And then, now LA and now the great Northwest. Boy, Big Ten country. Big Ten country from Piscataway, New Jersey to Seattle, Washington. There it is, right across. It's a pretty big conference's footprint is basically, it is the United States. From LA to Seattle to Rutgers down, it's a pretty big footprint. I basically have the whole United States. Now, if they could just get down there to Florida or Texas, now that would really be something. So, all right, that is the big news. It looks like it's happening when just a couple hours ago, Oregon was turning up their nose. Maybe whatever the revenue share was, like they were just going to get apart. Maybe the Big Ten sweetened it up a little bit, or maybe they had to throw them some kind of bone scheduling wise. I don't know, but maybe that's a lot of times what I have noticed in negotiations is that you get up into the 11th hour and that's where the real negotiating happens, and somebody has to come out and say no, we're not going. And then, okay, something. I don't think Oregon just sat back this morning and said, no, we're not going. Then just said, no, we had a change of heart. Let's go. Something happened there where somebody came to the table or on the phone and said, hey, we got a little something for you. All right. So we talk about freshman impact. Let's see if anybody had anything to say about the Big Ten. And here's Mark is weighing in on the Big Ten news. Big 18, is that where we're at now? Big Ten expansion. He never thought it was going to get past the presidents. I think the Big Ten's prez wanted Cal and Stanford, but they won't leave the Pac 4 or 5 until the others pull the plug and turn out the lights and then go Big Ten. Well, the presidents, presidents are kind of funny, they're in I say funny, they're in a interesting position because, the scholastic, it's about the students and everything, but it's about the money. It is about the money for these guys. Football running everything. No, are they a fit academically? No, probably not. Look, yeah, USC and UCLA are, I don't know exactly about Washington and Oregon and how they fit in, but they fit in money wise, and that's where the presidents, they can say whatever they want, but those presidents are getting compensated. The presidents are able to look past, like every job, you're able to look past things. It reminded me a little bit of, the PGA when their spokesman came out, when the live and everything. We will not be involved with this oil money, the humanity of it all. And then a couple months later, they're like, let's join up. Wait a second. I thought these guys. Not saying that that Oregon is involved with ISIS or anything. I'm just saying that the money changes everything around there, Mark. When we're talking about the presidents, I don't know what I'm saying. JP, the Wolverines will eat ducks. It's a food chain thing. Bring them on. That's right. Account 22 is already talking camp news. OSU camp saying their D-line will be the best in the history of college football. Yeah, I don't know if that's OSU's camp. You get in for camp news. I think no news. I don't have any specifics about camp news. You come in the first couple of days and no news is good news, because if there's news from camp for the first couple of days, it's usually that somebody got injured. Trying to come out and make any declaration about this defensive line, I don't know how different that defensive line is from Ohio State last year, but if they're playing the game on a recruiting grid, then I think Ohio State's why they show up nicely in some of those formulas that people put out. FPI, ESPN's FPI. A big component is recruiting. Ohio State, They do really well with that computer and that particular formula, and they do really well. I mean, if you just want to look at the two deep and look at all the stars, you're kind of like, wow, this is really nice. But we all know, and I'll say it again, now that Account 22 has said it, those guys got pushed around. That JTT is what played. I watched Ohio State play Penn State, and I was really impressed with that guy. It was Kyle Van Noy that the Lions picked in the second round out of BYU a few years ago. I remember a bowl game that he played against San Diego State, I think. And it was like the single best game that I ever saw a defender. Like he had a pick six, he had a strip fumble and a scoop and score. He had like 3-4 sacks. I mean, it was just an incredible individual effort. And then this JTT guy from Ohio State against Penn State, he was great in that game, but I don't even remember his name getting called against Michigan. He was getting pushed around. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying Michigan did. Maybe it was, the Buckeyes, maybe they were all so drunk the night before or something. It spilled into the water system there because they look like the second half. And, that's what it looked like. What happens is when you're getting physically dominated, I laugh. I'm laughing right now. Anybody talking about Ohio State, and I get that last year, at this time last year, they're like, okay, that was just a one-time deal up in Ann Arbor. The snow was falling. A quarterback was, he didn't like that. We didn't really like it either, but our leader was a little cold and everything. So, but we're preaching toughness. We're going to be tough. Well, then they had all off season. Toughness. And then Michigan went down there and did it again to them. So I have to see it. And if I was an Ohio State fan, instead of sitting around talking about how great the recruiting classes are, I would say the same thing. We're going to have to see it because the defense looks soft. And so say whatever you want about the defensive line. Bring them on. I hope that they're like they were last year. The defense overall, and in particular the defensive line. Bring it on because they got manhandled. And so they now they're tough. Now they're going to be tough. Okay. Keep it on. Keep it going. Detroit is saying he loves it because Michigan won't be able to eat up on all the cupcakes. And they'll be forced to have an explosive, dynamic team and stop settling for recruits and do a better job with the top players. That's with the addition of Oregon and Washington. Mark talking money. Healthcare. $5 billion at Cal and Stanford. Michigan, UCLA football is a good weekend revenue to those massive institutions. Yeah, no, I know they got a lot going on. In terms of donors and all of that. But football is still, when those presidents, they can talk about all the endowments and they can talk about everything that they want. But the football is nobody, I'm not gonna say nobody cares about it. Most people, sports fans, they care about football. There we go. Detroit thinks the change is great. Michigan will be more ready for the postseason going west late in the season with different styles of play and the tradition. He loves it. It's a good point. It's, what's the difference going to be between, it was like always like the speed of the South. And I remember, growing up, when Bo was, he was, beat Ohio State, you get to go to the Rose Bowl. There's nothing bigger than that. Well, you go out to the Rose Bowl, they had the speed, and they got to sleep in their own bed and all that kind of stuff. But now what's the difference? With what's Big Ten ball now? Is it? I do look forward to seeing USC and UCLA in Ann Arbor in November or December. That's going to be great. Bring it on. Bring any of those teams over from the Pac, now 5 or 12 or whatever you want to call it. I can't wait. I can't wait for that first run of the playoff either. Of course, I'd want Michigan to be one of the first 4 teams so they would get a bye. But maybe an odd year or something, they drop a game or two and they still make it, and then they're not going to get a home game with 2 losses, but maybe with 1 loss. The point, maybe they can bring Florida up or Alabama or Georgia or Texas, any of it in December in Ann Arbor. Everybody I think is looking forward to that. All right, so you start thinking about freshmen and you think about this year in the impact freshmen, and yeah, you do look at the recruiting. You look at the positions they play, and then you look at how highly thought of the players were. But you do look back to last year and a little bit of a guide. Remember Jimmy Rolder? It was pretty early in the season, maybe even against Iowa, out there. I'm like, wait a second, who's this 28? Or, he's now 30 or whatever. You can look and you're like, oh, it's Rolder. He was getting some time. Tyler Morris, the wide receiver who injured his knee in his senior season, had a big catch on the road at Rutgers for a first down, big third down snag there for Morris to move the chains. That was a pretty big play there, impact play for Michigan late in the season. And then the top 3 guys not only were impact, they were stars. And you want to start calling maybe even superstars, and what they're set to do this year, who knows? Colston Loveland, if it wasn't for Eric All getting hurt, we probably wouldn't have seen Loveland go off like he did. But, he had a great freshman year. I think everyone expected Will Johnson, the 5-star, at some point to get on the field. He didn't disappoint at all. I mean, Will Johnson was kept getting better and better and better. And by the end of the year, if you wanted to say he was great, you try to reserve that for, but I think he did play great, late in the season. And then Mason Graham was it was a shock. The shock is that you don't think about guys playing, whether it's, defensive tackle or anywhere along the defensive line, but really nose guard, defensive tackle. You don't think about a true freshman just walking in and being like, I'm in. And that's what happened with Graham. I mean, he won a starting spot on the defensive line as a true freshman, unheard of. And you get a picture of him up on the screen at Iowa. Man, he was making great play. First road game out there, making plays. Fabulous player. I'm not sure what he can do for an encore. Just play like he did last year, and he will be tremendous. Okay, so with that, I just picked 5 guys that I think will be impact freshmen for Michigan this year. Now, I looked at the positions that they play. I didn't go with like an I'm there. My screen went out for a second. Let me see if I can get the whole thing. There I am. I got 2 Dennis Fithians. One's talking here. But it won't be. You won't be able to hear this because it's not plugged in there. So hang on a second. Give me a second. That's me frozen. Oh, hold on. See if I can plug this back in. Get this going. Hold on a second. And all right, hold on. I'm working it. Hold on. Now let's see if I'm back here. I need some headphones, maybe. Let's see if I got some old ones in here. Doing it on the fly. I do have some old headphones in here. Let's see if you can hear me. Maybe. Okay. I think there's a little mic hold here. Could happen. Let me put it up. There it is. All right. I think I'm back. Go Blue. Yeah, Gary's just checking in. Look, Gary, I had to switch up computers. What happened today is that I unplugged the power cord. And there it is. That's what happened. And so I'm using the backup here. Now, will I be able to get my freshman impact players up here? Possibly. I might have to put my screen up here. Do this little close-up action. You get a good look at the studio here while I punch this up. I might be able to do this all. Let me watch the Ohio State game. There it is. All right. I may have to, instead of having the screens and everything else, it just might be like this, baby. Let's see what everybody has to say. Let's go back. Richard, am I back? Am I on here? I went to the other screen and here it is. And, I do have, it is booting up, the original one. I might just have to go with the freshman coming up on Monday's show. That's the way it's going to go. Well, that's the way that it happened. Volume. You need some volume from this? Do. Okay. It sounds good in my headphones, so I don't know. If you can't hear me, then I'm just going to have to abort this particular show. Am I on here? This is stop sharing. Let's do that. Maybe that'll get me back there. A true pro. Yeah, that's what the poster formerly known as Andres, or I'm sorry, the feedback formerly the GMA Golf. Loud and clear, Andres is saying. And so Steve. All right, so here we are. So all of that with the 5 freshmen that I had, I'll save that coming up for Monday. What I can tell you is that number 1 on that list, I went with Jyaire Hill, number 20. And I did that based on what I saw from Hill in the spring game and the need of a cornerback too. Now, if you ask me who I thought was going to be Michigan's starting corner today, if I had a prediction, I would select, would I select Josh Wallace or would I select Amarian Walker? I'll pick Josh Wallace, a guy that was a transfer from UMass. I think he's going to get the nod game 1. But I think the game 1 starter is going to be different than game 2. So game 2, I'll go with Amarian Walker. Now, you want to make the case that it'll be Walker and then Wallace game 2, I'm fine, or McBurrows. You can pick 4 or 5 guys there. I don't think Jyaire Hill is going to be starting, but based on his physicality that I saw in the spring game, see how he's able to cover ultimately. Came in, pretty nice credentials, and, his fellow freshman corner, Cam Calhoun, who is also on that list for me, I'm not going to be surprised to see either of those guys in there. So those were 2 of the 5. So that's it. Now, how about I just answer some questions today? I'm going to give everybody a pointer here if you're going to do podcasting. You get ready for your show and you have your backup plan. I didn't have my backup plan ready to go. I did have another mic. Sometimes if it doesn't work, here it is. It actually sounds Kind of like how the this mic sounds. Might even be a little bit better. You can hold it around. I get over here, but I don't have the slides, or I could, but it's on the other computer. But that's it. How about I just answer your questions? So that's where I'm at. Mark is saying, I need help. Michael talking about it being Amarian Walker will be that starting corner too. You know, I think that if, like, I don't really care who it is, but I think that, and I don't think the coaches really care. They want the best player. Everybody wants just the best player, and you know they'll earn it, and whoever it is. But the way Harbaugh talked about Walker heading in the spring, where he just declared, now he put in a couple other guys that act like they were going to be starters too, but he just declared instead of saying, well, the competition's open. He was just like, Amarian Walker. He had that cone drill that blew everybody away. It was like the fastest time, or it would have been the fastest time in NFL combine history. And he did that as a freshman at Michigan. So he's an incredible athlete. I think that he's got the tools that are out there, but then we watched him in the spring game and you could see, I mean, he got beat routinely. I mean, that had to be a humbling experience for Walker, but you know how it goes. I mean, you can see somebody that moves over, and he did play a little bit of corner last year, but he gets acclimated. He's the most talented athlete that they have over there. So, you know, that they want him. I could see that. And that's what Richard's saying. He's hoping that Walker is the fast learner. And, you know, I could see that. But the thing is, Josh Wallace played at UMass, and he was a captain. He's got a lot of experience. How good is he? Is he ready to take that bump up from a group of 5, whatever UMass is and whatever they play, to, you know, Big Ten football and be a starter just like that? I like the options. That's the thing with this team. You look through it, and they got a lot of options everywhere. And the question marks, cornerback 2, when you look at the offense, there really isn't it. You're certainly not going to talk about quarterback or running back or offensive line or tight end. So you do look at the wide receivers. And Colston Loveland is about as close to a wide receiver as you could get. So that's why when I look at Michigan's pass catchers and people are like, well, what about the wide receivers? And, you know, this is, well, what about Loveland? How about making him a wide receiver? You know, we see it a lot in the pros. I mean, yeah, you like every tight end to be like Gronk, but you know, there's only one Gronk, you know, so the way it's going, a lot of guys are like, you know, Kelsey, or a lot of guys are like Brock Bowers now at Georgia. And I remember just watching the couple things out of all of the Big Ten coaches meetings last week. Pete Thamel, who works for ESPN, he was just doing a stand-up talking about Michigan. And he said, he mentioned Loveland. And when he mentioned Loveland, he said that he thought he was the best pass catcher, not named Brock Bowers, in the country. Now, you know, I don't know how Thamel talks to a lot of coaches, and then that sounded like somebody had told him that. I don't think he just comes up with that on his own. I don't know how much he knows about football. I think he knows he got a lot of good contacts. Nothing against him. I think somebody told him that they thought Loveland was the best pass catcher, not named Brock Bowers, in the country. So that's where I'm sitting. That's what I'm looking at. I'm also sitting here with a mic in my hand. Account 22's talking. He's always got his eye on Ohio State, which I don't mind. He's talking Ohio State. Second string O-line unit is better than OSU's first string. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but it's fun to say. And you know what? It might be true. Ohio State's got questions with their offensive line. They got questions with their offensive line and then their entire defense. They got great wide receivers. That's what we know. They got, if healthy, they got 2 really good running backs. They got great wide receivers. And then they got a very talented defense, but you question their toughness and you question the coaching. So they've got a lot of questions. Michigan, they don't have. They got a question with cornerback 2. That's it right now for the defense. JP is talking about Darius Clemens getting some playing time. Got the speed, got the hands, got the length. Don't be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised if Clemens emerges. Now, you don't need like 5 wide receivers. How many do you really need? 2? 3? And Cornelius Johnson, this guy, is this him? Oh, there he is. Kojo. You got Kojo and you got Roman Wilson. That's a pretty good start for any team. And I think that both are capable of playing better. If Kojo plays like he did late in the season, all season, he'll be pretty good. And Roman Wilson, if J.J. McCarthy would have put the ball on him half the times when he was open downfield, we'd be talking about Roman Wilson already being a star. So I think he's a little bit underrated, Wilson. I know I say that a lot, but I'm saying it again. We're here in August. I think he is underrated. And then if it's not going to be Tyler Morris or not going to be Peyton O'Leary, certainly Darius Clemens could be one. I'm with you on with that, JP. JP saying, "Don't drop the mic. You'll be disappointed." Now, I wouldn't mind doing it to have a little fun, but I also don't want to break this mic. I like this mic. Maybe I'll start using this one. I was watching Taylor Lewan, former Michigan offensive lineman. What's he? Bussin' the Boys or whatever. I'm sorry. Whatever it is. It's a cool podcast. He was in Ann Arbor. And all of their mics, all of the guys were standing around, and it's like they liked doing it like this. They all liked holding their mics. Now, the problem, I'm a professional. These guys are going to be professional football players, but maybe they gave them a little bit of advice on how to hold the mic and where. Because you start doing this, and hey, I got something really important to say, and then you can't really understand what people are saying and getting in there. So that's it. Let's go through some more feedback in the remaining minutes. So I can tell you that coming up on a Monday, I'll have those 5 impact freshen for you. And as much as I try to keep the technical parts in check here, I just didn't have my regular computer plugged in. That battery got drained pretty quick. Let me check and make sure this one's plugged in. It is. That's good. Let's see. We'll go through some of the feedback here. So get yours in right now as we'll take your questions. We'll look at your points. And in 10 minutes, we'll just answer questions. Mark, the national media is silent on Loveland. Cade Stover rated better. Feels iffy to me. High hopes for the Indiana transfer playing last year with no one. Well, I was surprised that Harbaugh had mentioned in your talking about the transfer, A.J. Barner. We all saw him. I saw him in the spring game. You saw him in the spring game. We were playing the videos a lot. He's big. He's got the size, the blocking that Michigan wants. And Harbaugh mentioned that he thought he would be a pro. So it's kind of like he feels like the Luke Schoonmaker 2.0. It kind of looks, build-wise, I don't know how he really looks. We wouldn't know if he walked up and slapped me in the face. But I think that, he's a Schoonmaker. Mark, I don't think the national media is silent on Loveland. Pete Thamel from ESPN is national media. He said he thought that Loveland was I don't know if he said he thought or he was told, but he mentioned that Loveland could be the best pass catcher, not named Brock Bowers, in the country. So that is not the national media being silent. That is actually the national media pumping Loveland up as much as you would possibly want it. So you're saying that Stover is rated better if he ended up, in some of the publications. You look at the different people that do these, you rank, you can't rank everyone. You could. Let's put everybody from Michigan up there. So that is not actually correct. Now, I don't know where, Stover is rated. You might be talking about Athlons. You might be talking about Phil Steele. Who knows when it comes down to the rankings. And, Stover's a pretty good tight end. So, and, maybe he is better. But, Loveland is, pass catching wise. And some people, when you look at the tight ends and if you're rating them, I feel like if Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine who joins us on Wednesday, if he was ranking tight ends in the Big Ten and across the country, it feels like he would really value a tight end that could block as well as catch. And he might downgrade a tight end if he was more of a pass catcher and wasn't able to, get in there and bring his whips and chains and ready to go down in the trenches. Football players, ex-football players, they're like that. They want a tight end that can do both. But, the tight end position, as much as, college pros take from college and college take from the pros now, I mean, look at them. Who was I listening to today that they were talking about? Keep an eye on it was the Packers, and was it Musgrave, whoever their tight end that they drafted, I think maybe from Oregon State or something. Yeah, I was like, this guy's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver. He's playing tight end. Kincaid that goes to the Bills. And, he didn't look like much of a block. He's a guy from Utah, pass catcher. So, I think that those guys can be downgraded. That's the way it works. All right, let me see. One thing I do have a difficult time doing is working through the feedback with one hand, but I can do it. It can be done. Well, now that I said that, here I am having a hard time. Antoine says they might have Roman return punts. They might. Roman's ready. Roman can return punts. Roman could return kicks. We know that A.J. Henning's not going to be there. Give me about 5 different candidates. They could have Will Johnson returning punts. Who is up for it? Who's got the hands? Who can catch a ball in front of 100,000 with millions watching, with everybody, bearing down on you? Maybe it's Roman. Maybe it's one of those freshman corners. Maybe it's one of the freshman wideouts. Maybe it is Tyler Morris, who we mentioned before, or Darius Clemens. Clemens a little bit bigger. I don't know. Can you be, I think we talked about that earlier. Can you, it's like perfect punt return size seems to be 6 feet tall. Tyler Morris, prototypical. JP, looking at the wide receiver formations, he's got Roman and Kojo, Clemens, and Loveland, depending on the formations, with the tight end included. Yeah, it sounds good to me. Kojo and Roman out there. Clemens at the DZ could be Morris. Loveland. There's a lot of things you can do. Remember, you can also put, and maybe they'll do this year. Last year I talked a lot about guys playing, multiple positions, and then it really didn't happen. But can Michigan, who has Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, can Michigan use Donovan Edwards more in a pass-catching role as I don't know, you want to call him a slot receiver, line him up in the backfield, motion him out? And we saw him, it was the game against Michigan State. Donovan Edwards ran about 20 yards straight down the middle of the field, almost exactly in the middle of the field. He had a linebacker on him. He broke to the right. I guess that would be an in cut. Ball delivered to him. He ended up taking it up maybe 20, 30 yards. It was like, it seems like they could do that every time. And that's why spoiling it a little bit or teasing a little bit Monday's show, and we'll have those 5 freshmen in there, 5 impact freshmen. That's why I put Cole Cabana on the freshman hot list right now. I don't know about Cabana getting many carries with the depth that Michigan has. That's why it was tough with Ben Hall. He looked so like he was ready to go in the spring game, but I don't know how many carries he's going to get. You start talking about that third running back, Stokes, Hall, or Cabana, but Could Cabana be a kick returner? Could he be a punt returner? He's got speed. Maybe he could be. So you keep going like, I don't know, Michigan's got the wide receivers. Well, Cabana could get out there in a pinch, and he could do that. So something you could look at there. Richard Edwards running kicks back. Let's see what AJ is saying. Michigan should play a 22 formation with Blake and Donovan in the backfield. Donovan would burn a linebacker on just a simple swing pass. Yes, he would. Antoine, I'm with you. I think getting Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum in the backfield and then doing things with these guys, not just handing the ball off to them, but is it about a mismatch, getting Donovan Edwards on a linebacker? You bet. That sounds good to me. Let's do it. Let's see a little bit of that. JP likes that too. He's a coach. Lines up in the slot. He would take over Roman's spot. I love Roman, but catching it on a check down, he'll take Donovan all day. Yeah. I think if we're thinking about creativity, I think it does. You still want to get your best players the ball, and guys with speed, get them the ball. You say out in the open. Yeah, you'd like to get everybody out in the open. But yeah, Roman Wilson, the speed that he has, Donovan Edwards, the speed that he has, pass catching ability, seeing if you can get that mismatch going. I'm with you. All right. I had some other nice things for you. Oh, what was I'm going to mention in recruiting? Bear, the wide receiver from Idaho, Gatlin Bear, who I don't know if he is cooled on Michigan. It's between Michigan and Boise. He's making his announcement tomorrow. It started where Michigan was looking really good on his visit, and then it's kind of like it's seeming like it's going to be Boise for Bear. But I would just say, remember this. I think the big thing with Bear is that he is going to a mission for the next 2 years. So he's not going to be available in 24 or 25. We're talking about 26. And just like Michigan with Connor Jones, who was on a mission and then he was committed to a school, and now, he's with Michigan. A lot can happen in 2 years with Bear. I looked at it, even if he went with Michigan, which would tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow the 5th, that's when he's picking, I would have still been like, well, this is, you got to let this one play out, 2 years. If you're getting, and there's, if you were getting a 26, I don't think there's a 26 verbal commitment right now. There's 3 for 25. But if a kid was committing in 26, it'd be like, yeah, okay. Let me get through 24, 25 first. But, the point there is that Bear he still could be blue. And I don't know if people got this feeling or not. With the barbecue and with Bryce Underwood going down to LSU, but him coming back to Michigan, that seemed like some good news for U of M. This week, and if you are not a member of the Maize and Blue Review, I urge you to join up. You like recruiting? You get honest recruiting intelligence from Josh Henschke, Seth Berry, Trevor McHugh. You should check that out and join up with Michigan.rivals.com. Now, it's a long ways off when it comes down to Underwood, but there's a lot of very positive, we want to say Michigan momentum for Underwood. Let's just assume that is true, that Michigan and LSU are in a dogfight. And Michigan's got however you want to look, I don't like 50%. So Michigan's got a 60% chance at Bryce Underwood. I don't know if you think that sounds like a good number or not. That's where I'll put the number. after thinking about it for 5 seconds. Let's say that Michigan gets Underwood. It would be spectacular in that Bryce Underwood is a generational recruit from Michigan for sure. And after losing out on Dante Moore, it would be huge for Michigan just from that standpoint. The NIL and Michigan's approach and everything, if they're able to get him after getting Davis, I mean, like, what are we going to complain about? That would be great. But then you get a guy like Underwood. Bear, who is a 5-star, close to it, or I think he is a 5-star wideout. You go Davis, Underwood, back-to-back, you might as well be the Pied Piper talking about recruiting. And, yeah, with wide receivers. Right now with Michigan running the ball so much, you kind of get, like, a wide receiver looking at Michigan and giving them a little bit of side eye or whatever else. But, they end up McCarthy. Michigan is a great year. McCarthy opens it up a little bit. I think that's going to happen. Davis, maybe next year. And then Underwood, however it ends up working out, there's going to be a lot more wide receivers matriculating to Ann Arbor. That's not like anything like you heard it here first. It seems like everybody would agree with that. Yeah. Oh, you mean you got an outstanding quarterback, one of the best as we sit here right now, the top rank quarterback or 25, and you're saying that you think you get the top ranked quarterback that maybe top ranked wide receivers will want to play with him? Yeah, okay. Who's saying no to that? Who doesn't believe that? So that's it. Meanwhile, account 22 doesn't believe the predictions. What's this corner? What is somebody saying he's going to play corner? Or known as crystal ball. Yeah, should I follow other? I'm not going to other sites to see what their predictions are. I'm just staying right here. I feel pretty good about the information that I get right here, Rivals.com. I don't know if they're bogus. You could be right. I would also, if Michigan does get a commitment from Bear, I would look at it more like, because it's such a long ways off, is that Michigan's nice to have. It's nothing that you're going to run out and, make sure you're putting it in pen. Wherever your recruiting chart is, if you are keeping one at home, I would say, regardless of what happens tomorrow, write it in pencil when it comes to Gatlin Bear. That's what I see. Here's account 22 saying, yeah, it was a crystal ball. The one crystal ball is a 3 out of 10 confidence level. Okay. Yeah, so you feel good about it. All right. I have followed it. I haven't felt with my ear to the ground and my ear out towards Idaho. I just haven't heard much. And that's why it makes me think Boise. But you're reading the experts, and so you're thinking that they could be bogus because there's a number of them that are a little bit iffy on this. Josh Henske seemed a little bit like, he seemed very confident, I would say, a couple weeks ago. But since then, he gets pressed. What about Bear? He keeps coming. I don't know. The confidence level seems to have dropped. And if Josh's confidence level's dropped, well, then my confidence level is dropped. That's what's going on. Yeah, Boise. That's it. Let's see, old Montrell. It's one of my favorites. If Michigan wants Underwood, we all know what Michigan has to do. Does that mean pay him? I don't know. I know Michigan keeps working their NIL angle, And here's the thing, Montrell. The proof is what the players committing. And so if Michigan really does want and they end up getting Underwood, then you feel pretty good about what they're doing and what they have going on. Here's somebody new. Peter, he's a Michigan fan with a bunch of footballs next to it. There you go. PMP. Does Boise have the Rock? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. They got a blue field. AJ is talking about crystal balls being fake. The guys changed their prediction to the last minute. When they get the word, it's so fake. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how other people are doing it, trying to, so they want to be right. And at the last minute, if they have their prediction in and somebody's telling them something different, I don't know the procedure and everything. Like when it comes down to whether you're making a future cast or a crystal ball, do you have to put it in? Should you have to put it in stone? I think so. I think you should put it in stone, because if you're going to have a record, and I think they do, like they put their percentages out there. By the way, my percentages are pretty good. I only missed on my first one, and that was the kid going to South Carolina, Nichols Harbor. I had the feeling. I felt it, and then so I started out with a brick, and then I think a lot of people were like, this guy doesn't know anything about recruiting, which was fair. But since then, since the Harbor prediction, I'm undefeated. Yeah, maybe just put them in stone. It's no longer a prediction when you get the word. Well, I don't know exactly how everybody works, Antoine, when it comes down to recruiting, but if you're getting the word from the coaches in there, I don't know how many are just going on feeling. I think most, that's why they're in there. They're talking to people. And so that's why, they make their prediction at that point. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how all of the finer points about, predictions and being able to back out. I do know, like, sometimes that in the past, making predictions on games, and this isn't anybody telling you or anything else, but I'm thinking of a couple times. Oh, the one, I remember when Michigan was playing in the Citrus Bowl. That had to be, what was that, 2001 or 2? I don't know, something like that. Was it after? It might have been after 9/11. All right. Could have been the 2000. What up? They're playing Tennessee. Casey Clausen, and they're playing Tennessee in Orlando. The whole month, I'm like, Michigan's going to get beat by Tennessee. Tennessee's got the receivers. The offense is going to be too much for Michigan. But what happened is that I went down there. It was a nice sunny day on the field. And, it happens sometimes. You get over there and you see that you get those, it's like maize and blues, but you get affected. And I flipped my prediction. The day of the game, all month, Tennessee. And everybody's like, oh, why don't you pick Michigan? It's easy to pick Michigan. Everybody likes you when you're speaking to a Michigan crowd. Like if I was sitting out here telling everybody that I thought Michigan was going to lose 2 games, people would be trashing me all the time. I don't. I think Michigan's going to not drop 2 games this year. But the point is that all month long, I analyzed the game and I thought Tennessee, and then I woke up and, all New Year's Eve and everything, I just got the day of the game, doing the pregame. I flipped my prediction. And first, Michigan got routed in that game. Routed. Do you remember being down on that field watching the warm-ups, and I was intimidated by the in basketball they had layup lines. Tennessee came out. Who did they have? They had Dante Stallworth, a wide receiver named Kelly Washington. They had a bunch of pro wideouts, and then I was down there on the field watching those guys go through their warm-ups. And I was like, how's Michigan going to stop these guys? I don't know. It was a very impressive display. Okay, a couple last points from the people, and then I'll wish you a great weekend here. Harbaugh will be hitting the portal. I saw that they grabbed another 5-star, so they're doing a pretty good job and being able to put the money together to give these kids. The bad always wins. I thought that's what you meant, the bag. It doesn't always win, but yeah, I mean, hey, somebody's going to give you 10,000 and somebody says that we'll give you 20, and you go where somebody's going to give you 20. That's it. Montreal, making it official, Oregon and Washington, the Big Ten. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, AJ, that's right. They took Dylan Stewart away from Ohio State. Everyone's joining the Big Ten. Clemson and Florida State's going to be next. What are you going to do? Big 20. And then that'll force the SEC's hand. They'll have to go and pick a couple schools. If I was the SEC, actually, I'd be snagging Clemson and Florida State right now. Because if not, the Big Ten's going to go snag them. Why not? This is funny. Like, we used to talk about it way back in the day. Like, it was just Notre Dame. If if the Big Ten could grab Clemson and Notre Dame, you keep wanting 2 more. How about Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and can I get somebody from Texas? Who can I get? So it can't be Texas. That would have been nice, but they went to the SEC. They went Baylor? Baylor doesn't seem Big Ten. Texas Tech? Texas A&M? They're in the SEC already. It was Texas Tech. It's just not going to work. The Big Ten's just not going to be able to get down there to Texas. I don't think it's going to be able to happen, right? It would be nice for the Big Ten to get a Florida school. Florida State or Miami? That's it. You just want Florida? All right. JP saying, come join the Big Ten. We have hot dogs, mac and cheese, and chicken tenders. Welcome to the menu. That's it. And look at that one kid's plate. All right. Thanks for staying with us with what happened in the show today. I know what happened. I didn't have my computer plugged in. It powered down right in the middle of things. And then for 3 minutes, it was pretty embarrassing. But we got through it. Be here on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you.